Trucker Dave here, and today we're working on the daily. A lot of times in our quest to get things done, we seem to forget about the more important things. These old cars are fun, but now it's really cold and there's not a whole lot I can do on them if it involves chemicals or silicone or stuff like that. It's about 35 degrees outside. It's sunny, thankfully. But you can probably see the vapor coming off my mouth. So now suddenly the heater in my daily doesn't want to work. So we're going to troubleshoot that, and I'm going to show you a few things to look for. And they're easy things that you can do to make sure that your daily is in tip-top shape, at least the heater-wise, when it gets cold like this. So let's get to it. This is my daily. It's a 2002 F-250. It's got 222,000 miles on it, and it's actually in really good shape, with the exception of a little rust right here, and a dent on the tailgate, which was totally my fault. So this old construction truck, I got a good deal on it. It's really straight all the way down, and it's got the 5.4, and it runs really good. I need to wash it. They got a bridge out, so the shortcut is down a dirt road to get back to town, and I got a little muddy, but it's got a 5.4 4-speed electronic transmission, and it runs really good. It just needs a heater, so I'll show you what we do first. The first thing you want to do is make sure your antifreeze is topped up, so we're going to check this. It's a little over full. That's my fault. So we will check that. If you have to put antifreeze in, make sure you use the manufacturer suggested, that way if you have any warranty problems or anything, it's not bad. But always use what the manufacturer suggests, and make sure you follow directions. But a lot of times not having enough antifreeze will lead to a heater not working. So let's go to the next thing. I'm going to be showing you how to do this on a 2002 Ford F-250 Super Duty. Now, this will vary from vehicle to vehicle. All I'm trying to do is show you the basics and give you a generalized idea of things to look for. One thing you should always get before you even start is a manual. Now, you can find a lot of stuff online, but trust me when I tell you, a manual is a lot easier. You can find things faster. You can get the answers quicker from the manufacturer. Going online is a circus unless you have a specific place you go, or a good site and all that. I highly recommend a manual. I mean, I got on the internet trying to figure out how to do this. It was a circus. It's just everything was vague and unclear. And if you need a manual, you can online. It costs money to get a service, to get, and it's a racket. This is a one-time thing. Buy it, it'll service you for the life of your truck. So I highly recommend this. These have troubleshooting guides in it. So we're going to go over some of the things, we're not going to go in too deep here, but we're going to go over some of the things that you can try and test to make sure that you're doing the right thing. So let's start off with the first thing. The first thing we're going to do is check the fresh air door actuator motor. Now on this, it's behind the glove box, so it's actually really easy to get to. You have to, we got to clean out the glove box, but, oh look, Molly Hatchet's greatest hits. With these, it's real easy. You just push this off to the side here, like that, and this whole thing drops down, and that's the actuator right there. So let's pull it out, and I'll show you how to test it. To show you how easy this is to get out, all you have to do is reach up here, unplug that, move that out of the way, and you put a screwdriver right here under the base of it and just pry up carefully. It's got a rod in it, and it should just, yep, there it goes. It just popped right up and out. So we'll pull that out, maybe. Oh, it's not all the way out yet. So let's pop that out. Oh, it's got that. Yeah, you got to be a little rough with it sometimes, but don't get too rough to where you break it. So it comes right out of that hole. So I can't get my hand in here, so let me put the camera down. Okay, so here it is. It actually doesn't bolt in. It just fits into some settings and pops into the actuator door, right like that. So what we're going to do now is turn the truck on, and we're going to plug this back in, and we're going to see if this thing actually moves, and we'll test that. So now we got the truck going. We're going to move this. Yep, there it goes. All I did was move the hot and cold. So, and it's moving that. So we know that's good. Now we're going to have to test the actuator door now. Now what you have to do is take a little extension like this and put it in the actuator door and just rotate it to see if the door moves freely. So I will do that, and if the door moves freely, we'll put this all back together and we'll try something else. Really can't see it, but the door is moving freely. So now we'll get this out, and we'll put this back together. So all right. Now we see it just popped right back in. It was really straightforward. You just have to make sure that you don't force it in. You get it lined up, and you have to make sure that since the actuator has a bevel in it, it only goes in one direction. So sometimes you have to kind of turn it just a little bit back and forth till it finds its spot, and it'll drop right in. So now that we've got that fixed, let's go off to the next thing. A lot of times the reason a lot of heaters don't work is they lack the vacuum. Now I've already checked this, but this rod right here goes between the defrost and the vents and all that. It's all vacuum operated. So when I turn it on to, well, let's move that so you can see it right there. It's off right now, so we'll turn that down, and so we know this is working properly. Turn it off, and then we'll turn it, it moves the actuator door to direct the air. It's not the hot and cold for the outside, but if you can't get directional stuff, a lot of times the vacuum is not working. If I pull this thing will just, it's got spring loaded, it'll just boink, and that'll be it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to check for air bubbles. Now, I don't have a vacuum machine or anything like that, so what I'm going to do now is, well, we're going to fire the truck up, and we're just going to go for a drive. I'm going to go put some gas in it at the Casey's. They're the only place in town that sells non-ethanol, and I will say this, though. We got a new jump start in town, and they sell E85, so if I ever get a chance to do a project with E85, I'm set. Some of the stuff they're doing overseas with E85 stuff is kind of interesting to me. I'm interested to see what kind of power I could make, but I think I could probably do better with race fuel. But for stuff off the pump, yeah, it's not too bad. So let's go fill this thing up, and we'll go for a drive. One of the things you always want to check is your thermostat also. If your thermostat's sticking open, the cold weather, it'll let you know. Now, my thermostat works fine. We've checked that. It gets up to operating temperature fairly quickly. And it pretty much holds where it's supposed to. So we know the thermostat's fine. We know the actuator's fine. And we know the vent door's fine. So now we're going to check and see if there's any air bubbles. I did have to replace the radiator in this last spring. it started leaking, so I changed out the radiator. So we'll see if there's any air bubbles. I don't think there is, but as soon as we get filled up, I'll let you know why. I usually stop and get coffee here too, but lately I make better coffee than these guys, so yeah, there's that. I put 10 gallons in. I'm up to, well, about half a tank. This has got a big tank. We're up to operating temperature, so let's start on our little trip. Well, I drove out here to the Turnpike service area. There's a back way in. You can't get on the Turnpike, but you can come down here, park. I'm going to come in and get me some coffee. So I got some good driving done. So we're going to let the truck sit for a minute. I'm going to check the antifreeze, and then we'll head back home and have a synopsis of what happened, and then we'll move on to the next thing. So as I sit here and look around, this hill is not steep enough. It used to be a lot steeper till they redid the road here, but I'll show you what I'm talking about. I kind of need a hill like this, that way I can, well, without getting stuck, and I don't want to get arrested for tearing up the turnpike, but you need something to be able to get your heater core lower than your radiator, that way the bubbles work through. Yeah, I may just go get a vacuum pump, which shouldn't be that expensive, but you know, if you can do that, getting the bubbles out shouldn't be that hard. So we're going to take this thing for another run, and I'm probably going to go down, well, no, I'm not going to go all the way down there to another 12 miles to get on the turnpike. I could. No, I'm not going to. So we're going to start heading back towards the house, and we'll look at a couple other things. I decided to forego the interstate. I can actually get it up just to interstate speeds on this 2-lane. That's the speed limit here in the next county south of me. So I'm running just right about 70 right now, and when I had it slowed down to about 40-45 on the dirt, she started cooling off. I sped up. She's heating back up again, so we're going to go take it over to a buddy's house. I just remembered he's got one heck of a hill that will work, and so hopefully he's home, and we'll run over there, see if I can borrow his hill, and see if we can get this straightened out. So hey, let's go. But I got to swing by the house first. He's got chickens, so I'm going to bring him over a bunch of egg cartons, because he's been nice enough to give me eggs, so I give him cartons. So let's go do this. The one thing I haven't covered is that this truck does not have a cabin air filter. It's just, they didn't put one in these big trucks like this. Almost every modern car has one now. For some reason, this truck does not. It didn't come equipped with it. I don't know why. And if you are having this kind of problem that I'm having, that is the first place you should go. You should check and replace your cabin air filter. As long as you get on a system, change it every 6 months, change it every so many miles, depending on how many you drive. You just get on a routine and change it periodically. Your air will be cleaner, your system will stay much cleaner, and a lot of these problems that are caused by dirt can be alleviated, and you'll have a much cleaner, better efficient system because you're keeping your system cleaner. So that's something to think about. I wish this truck had one, because that's the first place I would have looked. So just a little thought. Well, he wasn't home, but his loyal watchdog was, along with the other loyal watchdog. So, hey, can we use the hill? Ziva. That's Ziva. And that is Ginger. Ginger needs the keto diet. So what you really need is just a hill. Rotate the, I got about a 6% grade here. And you really don't want the oil pressure to, you got to watch your oil. You got to watch all of that. So we'll just see what happens. We'll give it a few revs here, see if we can work a couple of air bubbles out, and go from there. He's not home, so I really don't want to use this hill too long without permission. You don't need anything too extreme. You just need to make sure that the heater core is lower than the radiator. So we're going to give this a minute, and then we'll pull out of here. Believe it or not, I think that actually did it. It's actually blowing hot now. It doesn't seem to have the fluctuation it had, and the heat's more consistent, so that's a win. So now, as we wind this video up, let's go over some of the basics. If that trick hadn't worked, I would have had to start digging deeper in, and I always tell people, if you don't know what you're doing, go get a qualified mechanic. But what we all need to remember is that regardless of the age, whether it's a 2002 or a 78, the fundamentals are still the same. There's still actuator doors, there's still fluid, there's still heater cores, there's still blower fans. And just because the actuation's done different or the blower fan's wired differently doesn't mean that the function is any different. If you know the principles and the fundamentals, you can get about anything you want done fixed. You just have to learn the process. So, like I said, there's the principles on the 78 are identical to the 02, and there's a lot of time in between. So now that we fixed the problem on the 02, there's no need to go any further. But if we had to, I'd dig into the heater core and make sure it's not clogged, and I would dig into the top side too, and make sure that there wasn't a bunch of trash and debris and whatnot keeping that from functioning properly. But I didn't get it on film. I wish I would have. When I had it up on the hill, the heat gauge actually dropped down like that and then came back up, which tells me that a bunch of air cleared out. So I really did have two problems. So come this spring, we'll figure out what's wrong with the air conditioner. So that's all for this video. I hope you liked it. I hope it was at least informative, and maybe you guys can use some of the same principles in fixing your own cars. That way you save a little money. So thanks a lot for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and we'll talk to you later.